Who do we have on? Paul? Is
Yeah,
Paul
Paul.
on too?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's get the party started here then. It's called to order, the March 5th, 2025 Water Sewer Commission for the town of Charlton. Let's open things up with the public forum. Anybody here from the public that would like to speak? All right, hearing none. Vinny, let's get right into the MOR.
Nice, moving along.
What about the warrants and the minutes?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, back up.
I don't have my agenda. Let's go with the warrants.
Slow
and
down, Tiger.
abatements. Go ahead, Paul.
Right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February, was it 5th,
Mhm.
I'll
2024,
second.
as written.
I'll second.
Cheryl, roll call.
Okay, Mr. Gagner,
Aye,
Mr. Jennings,
Aye.
Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
next I'd like to make a minute to approve the warrants for the month of $83,874.67.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye,
Mr. Jennings,
Aye.
Mr. Cantwell.
Aye. All right, Vinny, let's hit us up with that MOR.
All right. We're gonna be covering the month of January 2025. The plant was staffed by myself, Zach Campbell, Mike DeRusha, and Amy Nassis. We did complete Veolia's monthly inspection report. Health and safety for the month. We customized and implemented a new monthly and annual inspection program. They're a lot more in depth. We do a better job of checking all the components we're looking at, and we're reporting it to a database for Veolia. So that was new in the month of January. And the staff completed the laboratory QA/QC training and pH calibration, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, doing the same procedures. Compliance for the month. The DMO was entered into the CDX on February 14th with no exceedances. Operations and maintenance activities. Slims was here dropping off a load of septage from one of our pump stations. While he was offloading into the manhole outside of the headworks, the manhole started to back up. We went inside the headworks, but it wasn't full in there, so we came to the conclusion there was a blockage in the piping. So they used the truck and started sucking backwards from the facility. And after quite a few tries of sucking it out and then blowing back in with the truck, they were able to dislodge the blockage. And we ended up taking a lot of stuff out of there. The ferric day tank spill containment, we cleaned that out. And that just kind of, it's like a cemetery for spiders. That's where they go to die, along with some other debris that lands in there. So it was a nice project. We filled it up, soaked it up, and made it look nice and clean. We installed a new swing gate on the secondary clarifier number 2. So periodically we need to go inside of these clarifiers for maintenance. We drain them down, we put a ladder in, and we go down inside. Well, to get inside, we need to climb over the railing, which is a little bit of a hazard. So we cut out a section of the railing and put in a secured swing gate. And that makes it a lot easier to access the clarifier. The influent composite sampler had an issue with the flow pacing. LaFleur Electric was here doing some other work, so we asked them to look into it. They checked all the wiring, and they came to the conclusion that the sampler head just wasn't communicating. So we ordered a new one of those, and it actually came in today. So while they were here, they came in to change the flash tank motor, and they pulled the motor off and found that the gearbox also had bad bearings. So the motor and the gear drive were bad, and we don't have spare gear drives sitting on the shelf, so we borrowed one from another part of the process that's not online. There's about a dozen of these gear drive and motor assemblies in the Comag system. So we just borrowed it and put it in the flash mixer, and we're working with the manufacturer to get another one on order. The caustic delivery was delayed a couple of days, and caustic's pretty critical. It keeps our pH in the permitted range. And we typically run a really tight ship on caustic anyways. Most days, maximum capacity, we only have 20 days on site. But we can go from 20 days to 0 days really quick if the usage is up. So if we get a load of influent in that has a low pH, we'll use a lot more caustic, and that's what happened to us. So to make sure we didn't run out, we made a lime slurry tank and we started dosing that in instead of the caustic while we waited for our delivery to show up. Due to the cold temperatures outside, the piping coming from the ferric bulk tank froze up. And it happened a couple of days in a row, and we're out there just defrosting it like every other day. So we put some heat wrap tape around it and we insulated the valve box, and we haven't had the problem since. Slims came to the plant to reinstall the mag drum. That drum weighs about 700 pounds. It's full of magnets. It tries to stick to everything it goes near. So it was nice to have some outside help to get that project done. All of the aeration blows out of the facility received a PM. That included the new belts where needed. We did all the oil changes, greased them, replaced the air filters. The Phosphax analyzer also received a PM. Took all the tubing apart, replaced what needed to be replaced, cleaned the rest. It has an acid cleaning procedure, and we ran it through that, and it's back online and working good. The alkalinity analyzer also received a PM during this time. We cleaned all the tubes, we calibrated the probe, we made sure the dose was correct with the acid, and put that back online. We set up a new distiller in the lab. It's set on a timer so nobody can forget it. You twist the timer to 60 minutes and it'll distill you about a quart of water. We use the distilled water in our lab testing procedures. The system activities. On the 2nd, there were multiple power outages throughout the town. Staff was called in and we checked all the affected pump stations. 61 Hollywood came in. They purchased 2 sets of grinder pumps. The house on the property is at the bottom of the hill, and there's a garage that has an apartment in it that they wanted to connect to the sewer as well. And I spoke with Russ on this one, and we agreed that they needed 2 separate sewer systems for this application. Originally, they were asking if they could run a gravity line from the garage up above down to the lower tank. And I just didn't think that was a good practice, because if the house below loses power, now the garage up above keeps sending stuff down and they don't know it's overflowing or whatever. So it's just better to keep them as 2 separate systems. The pump station activities. Old Worcester Road had several high level alarms during the month, and they were caused by a lot of trash and debris buildup in the wet well. We called Slims out to clean the wet well, and LaFleur came because the controls kept tripping the breakers. So they went through the controls and checked everything they could and made sure everything was good to go. North Sturbridge Road also had several high wet well alarms. Upon arrival to the calls, there were no pumps running, but the wet well was definitely high. And we placed the pumps into the hand position. It took a couple hours to pump down. We called LaFleur out to troubleshoot the problem. And we also called Slims to schedule cleaning of that wet well. Slims was out during the month to clean the Route 20 pump station wet well. That's that brand new wet well that Amazon paid for, as well as the other project further up Sturbridge Road. When we opened up all the manhole covers in there, there was a big biomass in the top of it, and it was just a mixture of trash and scum from all the other places mixing and getting aerated. It was over a foot thick, and they spent the whole day there breaking it up and trying to suck it out. They did a pretty good job, but they didn't get all of it. And we're thinking that's going to have to be a quarterly cleaning. We took 8 loads of sludge to Cranston for disposal, and we received 4 totes of caustic. That concludes the MOR for January 2025. Any questions?
Vinny,
Yeah,
did you?
Vinny, just to back up through the chair, if I might,
Go ahead.
just a quick question. North Sturbridge Road, Vinny,
Yes,
you
sir.
have, you're always having problems with that pump station?
Not always. It's actually been quite a while. We had a pump that was giving us over temp problems.
Yep.
And we were pretty much running on one pump most of the time. We just recently installed another pump there, and Slim's cleaned everything out, and it seems to be pretty good right now. I think LaFleur had to change one of the floats out while they were there too.
Okay.
My
don't think-
question,
I have a problem with that, do you?
what's that,
Excuse
Russ?
me?
Is there an infiltration problem with that one, with that manhole, Vinny?
I don't think
Oh,
there's
that
an infiltration problem as much as there's a lot of rags that go into that station, and it's also pretty greasy.
And there's no way, it's not like there's a big user we can track down who's putting the rags in there, right?
I don't think so. I mean, there's only a small
Good to-
stretch of that road that I'm aware of that can get rags in there, because you can't pump rags, so they have to be coming
Yeah.
from the gravity customers.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could do a letter campaign if you wanted to and send notices to everyone explaining the extra costs of flushing this stuff they're not supposed to.
Yeah, and let's give that some thought. You know how people typically don't read that stuff anyways, but
I don't know, we're getting a good response to the last letter campaign.
I
are
think
we?
you got return receipt requested, so you make sure people actually read it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's the only way they get their attention typically. But,
Yeah.
all right,
Vinny,
thank you, Vin.
the Route 20 pump station, Vinny, that Slim's pump with the biomass on it, you said that would probably need to be done quarterly. Is that something that we used to do in the past before Amazon and stuff? Did they used to have to pump that station out before?
We've always had to clean it. It's always been really bad. The biomass thing, I think, is occurring because of the air we're putting into it. So we're actually breaking down some of the constituents in the water. And because of that, we're getting a biomass buildup on the surface. Typically that would come to the plant and just be extra loading on the plant itself. So we're getting a little bit of pre-treatment, and I think that's adding to the fact that we're gonna have to clean it more often.
Anybody else have any more questions on the MOR?
Nope.
All right, hearing none. Moving on to new business.
Thank you, Vinny.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vinny.
Right. Dave,
Yes,
on the agenda, it has Clea after Vinny.
okay. Mr. Blair, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, my friend. How are you?
We're doing good. Tell me you bought some frontage on the sewer service area.
I'm sorry.
Tell me you bought some frontage in the sewer service area.
I have I can buy some frontage, but I want to make a little bit of a presentation. So I just kind of feel you guys out on where you would stand on something like this. First of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate your time. Believe me. Is there an application process that you guys have that I would need to go through, or is it just basically present you with a plan, show you what I want to do? And, I'm not familiar with your process.
Mr. Jennings, let's take this one.
Sure. Hi, Clay. How are you doing tonight?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so basically what we've always done on anything of a larger nature is what we've asked you to propose to us what you're looking to do. Naturally, we're not mind readers. You know, we do consult with an engineer once you've proposed what you're looking to do, and we go from there. It's pretty hard to ask, it's pretty hard to answer technical questions based off no plan,
Well,
right?
Right. It's not really, the only thing I'm really looking for is a tie-in. So, and I don't know if you need any downstream analysis or I just don't know what you need, but there's a place where I can
Well, we
buy.
don't,
I'm
we
sorry?
don't know what downstream analysis would be required until you provide us with the information. You know, and it doesn't have, you don't need to go crazy and give us, you know, very, very intricate details. You need to say, this is what I'd like to do in a general sense.
But, okay, I can almost do that verbally, but I'll do it in writing, obviously, but I'm just
Yeah,
trying to get
so-
I'm just trying to get an understanding, a little bit better understanding. So my foreman and I, went down and we met with Vinny and we got some plans from him and we talked with him about a few things. This was in the fall, late fall. And, you know, from looking at the plans of where the sewer lines are and where they go and where Curtis Hills, you know, Estates is gonna be. I mean, there's a whole lot better way of sewer in the project than where I'm proposing to tie in. I have 50 feet of frontage that I can purchase. I haven't purchased it yet. But I will be able to purchase, you know, 50 feet of frontage. But rather than purchase 50 feet of frontage, I'm proposing giving you guys that money or actually doing some work for you. But there's a much better way to tie in to this project. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to do all E1s, or Vinny said you don't use E1s, something or equal, whatever you guys prefer. It'll all be private. The whole sewer line will be private all the way to the tie-in. You'll have no responsibility for upkeep or any of that. It will all be done through a homeowners association within the project. Now, if I come down Curtis Hill Road and I tie in, I hang under the railroad, you know, the railroad bridge there, where the railroad goes across the street. I can hang the sewer line there. And, you know, we can wait right across that down a little ways on the right-hand side. It goes down a pretty steep banking, but there's a tie-in, there's a manhole right there. That sewage doesn't need to be pumped. So what I've done is, you know, if I tie in down and I have to, you know, go under the railroad itself, to get into your sewer line, then that's a real process, but it can be done. I spoke to the railroad at length. They allow it, but it's a paperwork nightmare. And if I do it the way that I'm talking about, I don't really have to talk to the railroad at all. It's basically the DPW or the highway superintendent, or somebody of that matter, or the select board or something. But I come down to Curtis Hill Road, come down Route 31 a little ways towards the Clam Shack there, Ronnie's Clam Bar there, and there's a place to tie in right there off the street. That completely bypasses the pump and everything, and it really, you know, it's definitely the best way to sewer that project. To come down the hill, come across, go under the sewer line, tie into the street that runs, I don't know the name of the road, I apologize, I forgot. But the tie in the back there, and then it goes to a pump station and it pumps it all the way back to the manhole that I'm talking about tying into. So, you know, and we got that all from the plans that Vinny had let us have. So if it's possible, that's what I'd like to propose to you guys, but if it's a no, it's a hard no right off the bat. Like I say, if I gotta spend 50 to 100,000 and put a generator in your pump station, or if you got something on North Sturbridge Road that needs to be fixed, I mean, the money's better spent on something like that than it would be for me to buy this piece of frontage on your sewer line, tie in, and then, you know, and then have to go pump it up to a place where it could go naturally anyway. So I guess that's the big thing here is it's a completely private line. Everything would be upkept by the people within the subdivision through a homeowners association. It doesn't really affect you guys, except you know, obviously, and you get paid for every, you know, you put a meter, there's wells, but you put a meter on and you get paid for every gallon that goes through the meter. I don't know, it just seems like a much better way to do it than and try to finagle it to meet the rules and I don't know, I think it just would cost more to, and cause more grief in the long run. And that's really pretty much all I have to, say at this time.
So one of my first questions, Clea, would be how many private properties do you think you would pass by between where you would tie into the sewer line and your property?
Well, you know something, I don't know off the top of my head, but it would be the entirety of Curtis Hill Road. And then where
Okay.
it comes down onto 31 and then down 31 a little ways to that area. So, I mean, and the nice part about that is anybody puts an E1 on, they can tie in to that line.
Well, and that's now you're talking a benefit to the town and the users around your project, because typically anytime that someone does a private upgrade on town property, naturally any properties that they go by, they leave a stub and they provide that so that the people along the way can tie in as well.
Absolutely. Yep, that's the way it's always done. Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, I personally, what I would like to see you do is give us gallons per day that you believe with those adjacent properties would ultimately give us, and a breakdown of new being new to the system, and then potential, let's say, existing properties, and just give us a quick little drawing of where it would go and how you would see it going. Rough pipe size, and that's very, very simple, basic to start off with, so that we can look at it. We can ask some initial questions of Vinny, being our sewer operator. We can do our homework about our own system, where you're tying in, the number of gallons that are coming into our system, and then potentially start asking some general questions of some other engineers like Chris McClure. We consult with him from time to time if we have to. Get you back on the agenda and have the formal discussion of, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do, this is what we'd be in favor of, this is what the board would not be in favor of.
Okay. So but you would, maybe you could foresee tying in over where I want to tie in as opposed to buying that 50 feet. And I'll put that all in the proposal, but I don't want to waste anybody's time. If you're not interested, I'd let me know. I just,
Yeah, so let me,
I think,
1 second, please. So, last January, we sent out a letter to everybody in town who has paid a sewer betterment and not connected to sewer yet. Okay? We sent it out, we didn't send it out in January, we sent it out before January, maybe in September of last year. And we let everybody know that as of January 1st, 2024, if you paid a betterment and you haven't connected, you will no longer be guaranteed space in our system. Okay? So I guess I have a fundamental issue with sending that letter out to people who have paid sewer betterments in our town. And because we're gonna be running into a capacity issue at some point in time at our plant, and giving you a sewer extension for a piece of property that's not in the sewer service area at this time. In my mind, if you had frontage on the sewer service area, well, now you're a sewer customer and now we can talk. But without frontage on the sewer service area, you're talking about putting in a sewer extension or another line. And I just feel like that kind of is gonna leave a bad taste in people's mouths that have paid a sewer betterment for 20 years and they're not guaranteed space in our system, and yet we're gonna let you put in a line and hook up 78 homes. I guess that's my fundamental issue, Clea.
well, I understand that, but what I'm saying to you is I can buy space on the line, and and satisfy that. But then that eats up, let's say 50 to 100,000 to buy that frontage on the line. And I could take that money and put it into the sewer system, and it's better for the system. So if you're gonna, yeah, I see your reasoning with that.
I understand what you're saying too, but I guess I'm looking at it from an outsider's perspective. I understand what you're saying, Clea, right? And you understand what I'm saying, but somebody that's paid betterment in town is gonna say like, yeah, how can you let this happen? I paid a sewer
Well-
betterment for the last 20 years and you're not gonna guarantee me space, but you're gonna that's gonna lead up to 78 homes for this gentleman. That's
Well,
I guess that's the problem.
I understand, but
Okay.
you know, so if you have somebody who hasn't paid a betterment or has paid a betterment but hasn't tied in, the reason they haven't, I'm sure the reason they haven't tied in is it costs money to, number one, do all of that. So, and then you got to start paying sewer fees.
Some
So
people may never tie in, Clea, and
They,
that's save space for somebody that's never ever going to tie in either. And I guess that was part of sending out that letter also.
right, so you want to say, listen, you know, you're not guaranteed space anymore, but they paid a betterment because that's the regulation. They have to. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the people where I'm putting in this sewer line, they don't have to pay a betterment and they can still tie in. So I am providing a benefit, and you know, it just, if you could just have an open mind to what I'm proposing, it would probably at least let me propose it. That's why I'm saying. But if you're gonna give me a hard no, I get it. You know, I'll go buy that piece and you know, look to tie in from there. I've never, you know, I put sewer in a lot of towns. I do Holden, I do Shrewsbury, I do Rutland. And that's something that's never been an issue, like having a frontage on the line. You know, I mean, I put in,
Because
sewer.
I'm assuming we were in the sewer service area when you were talking about building.
No, in
this.
fact, I just put in a 112 lot subdivision in Rutland and a 102 lot subdivision going in across the way, right on the whole other end of town. And I put in a pump station, and we're pumping it all the way up and down. Well, Christ, it's about 2 miles to tie in, and we're tying into the DCR sewer line.
Sure, but I'm sure they have the capacity in the system to take that waste. We're
Well,
running,
they do,
right?
they do,
We're,
and that. I'm
that's our
sorry.
problem. We have a capacity issue.
Well, and
We're running
And
up.
if I, the
with
chair, please, this is another thing that we are looking for. Like, I don't have the crystal ball as to how many gallons per day you're going to be requesting from us. And this is something that you need to propose.
Right, it's
You-
14,000
I don't-
gallons a day at peak, at full build out, which is probably, you know, 5, 6 years from now, 7 years from now, it's 14,000 gallons a day. The average
that-
4-bedroom home it puts about 200 gallons a day of affluent. I always get that mixed up, into the system. And I've done tons of studies, and that's what they use. They don't use Title V numbers to put in gallons per day. They use Title V numbers for peak flow. And it's about 14,000 gallons per day, full build out. And with all the
We
water
still-
saving things going on now,
We still
it's probably
Title
less.
V. We still use Title V numbers for approval, though. We're bound
Well,
by that.
that's for peak flow. But if you're asking me what it's gonna put into the sewer line, it's at about 14,000 gallons a day.
So
Yeah, but
what,
for
so
purpose.
we're talking two different numbers, and the number that I'd be requesting from you is the requested gallons per day number.
Well,
And
that's.
if you were to say you were gonna go down the road and down Curtis Hill, you would have to additionally add all of those houses in, and
Oh, yes,
you know,
oh, that's correct. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
you'd have to
yeah.
use the Title V numbers, Clea. You can't use the maximum flow numbers. Because
Whenever
again,
we-
we're talking requested gallons per day.
Well, that's what I'm gonna be, Title V is strictly a peak flow number, so the reason that anybody designs 110 gallons per bedroom, the way the septic systems are designed, the leach fields, are to handle peak flow. So and that's what you 440 gallons a day is peak flow. And we have literally taken all the water bills from all the few of the subdivisions that we did in town. And there's an average, and this is, people watering their lawn and everything else, it still comes out to a couple hundred gallons a day. It's really going to be going into the system. It's just that the Title V is peak flow. I can give you peak flow and I can give you gallons per day, just so when everybody gets up and takes a shower at 7 o'clock in the morning and they run their dishwasher at night and, everybody's getting the bathtub, there's times when there's peak flows, 2 o'clock in the morning, nothing's going to be flowing, you know what I mean? Or very little.
I completely understand.
Yeah. So we'll give you that and we'll pick up all the houses along the way. I'm just, I got a mixed message on the frontage. I'm rather, like I said, I'd rather put the money into your system than buy frontage to tie in a place that it really doesn't make sense.
Another thing that I think about is, you may be right, right? You might be 100% correct that this is probably the more feasible way and the easier way to get into our system. The problem is the next guy is going to come to us and he's going to say, I want to do what Clee did. I want to run a line up this road over here and I want to run it to my 75-acre piece of land. And that's where we're going to run into a bind also.
Well, I get that a lot, and I can tell you that each system or each thing is individual. People always say to me, I get a lot of subdivisions approved and do a lot of land development work, and there's always unique situations that come up within conversation or within approvals, and that's why that you guys have a board and you have the ability to do that. The next guy coming along might not make sense. And yeah, Clee did it, but it made sense. This guy, you want to do it, doesn't make sense,
A lot of big parcels of land in Charlton where somebody could come to us and say, I want to do just like he did. I want to do exactly what Clee did. I want to run a quarter-mile line up this street right here. I'll connect everybody to the line, and I want to open up my piece of land for 78 houses. And I'm just gonna have a hard time saying yes to you and no to them.
But have you had much of that come to you yet?
No, but
Could I use that line?
but I think that would happen. I think it would happen if we allowed this to happen.
I don't know that.
Town might say like, oh, geez, I can run a line down the street and have my land have town sewer and possibly X amount of houses on it. I guess
I think
concerns of mine, Clee.
through the chair, if I might
Go ahead, Russ.
interrupt it. One of the things that Clee has brought to our attention this evening, and this again is providing us with the info to tell us what he's looking to do, is he stated 14,000 gallons a day, whether or not that's Title V, max flow, whatever it is, it's still over the 10,000 gallon per day that we have, and I'm not sure you're aware of that, Clee, or not.
Yes, I was. And again, if it's only 10,000, we hook up 10,000, we come back in 4 or 5 years, ask again, and if it's no, then we put in septics. I just
Okay.
here's the thing: when you put in septic systems, first of all, you got all kinds of nitrogen loading in the ground, okay, and you guys take care of all that with your pump station, with your sewer treatment plant and things like that. Number one, but when you build the houses, because wherever the sewer groundwater modeling is, you got to build the houses up. So you got to, because otherwise you'll have a big mound of dirt in front of the house or behind the house, wherever the leach field is. And then it won't look right. So you got to bring in a lot of fill, raise everything up. And there's just so much soil moved and used and polluted with septics, as opposed to having a sewer system that you have the capacity to do it, it makes sense to really, at least for me to try to, see what you guys would feel about that. I mean, I literally, parking lots perk these days. I mean, I'm not worried about putting in the septic systems. I'm just worried about, how much fill and how much the houses are gonna have to be raised up and how much septic sand and stone and piping and, Cultex, and it's just, there's an awful lot to septic systems. And these are so much cleaner, so much better for the environment to have it go through a sewer system. So I'm attempting to do that. And if I can ask, if you guys would be open to me asking, I'd love to just make a presentation with all of the information that you asked for tonight.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I would love to see what the actual numbers are, and then, yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. So maybe I don't need to take up any more of your time. Maybe I could get on the next meeting's agenda.
Okay.
And I can come back with, do I bring the stuff into Vinny ahead of time? And I met with
Oh,
him
yeah.
once, do it.
Yeah. More.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd need to have it, at least a week, 10 days prior to our next meeting to have it on the agenda, please. We have to post it typically it's 3 days, which puts us on Thursday of the week before. But at a minimum, the beginning of that week potentially would be, nice for us to be able to review that stuff and look at it.
You got it. I'll make sure. If not, I'll ask for an extension to the next month.
All right, Cleve, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Thank
Thanks.
Yep, bye now.
Bye.
I don't know how to sign out.
Hit the end. Moving on to next agenda item. Cheryl, you said it was St. Mary's Church.
Yeah, 74 Gould Road, St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church. Notice of intent to sell for other use per chapter 61B.
Doesn't sound like you've been.
I'll make a motion that we not exercise any right to this property and notify the selectmen that we are not interested in purchasing this property whatsoever.
Second it.
Roll call vote, please, Cheryl.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
Mr. Jennings,
Aye.
Mr. Cantwell,
Aye.
Mr. McLam.
I have to abstain there, my neighbor.
There you go.
Okay, okay.
All right, moving on.
There's
Any-
Chris. Oop. Sorry,
No problem. Old business.
none.
All right, any new business as of this, before the meeting? Just a couple things I wanted to let you guys know. One, I met yesterday with the DPW interim director in Southbridge, along with Steve Blanchard, Steve Gregoire, Chris McClure, and myself. We met, about the, water tank situation. We're talking about bringing the blue tank back online. And we're gonna have, another meeting with Beta shortly to, talk to them about the water modeling that they have done for us so far, and see if we can come up with a conclusion to get that blue tank back online. Also, just want to let you guys know, I got a call from DEP today. I guess the second guy in command with clean drinking water, and he is on us about getting the mill connected down on City Depot Road. The mill and the laundromat, Paul. They want to get those connected. So we're going through the process of that. Talked with Steve Blanchard. They ran a test and they have enough water down there to let that line fill up and start running. They're going to do a pressure test and a bacteria test in the next couple weeks. So just so you guys know that those buildings will be coming online shortly. And that's all I got. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, question for you, Dave. What about the connection up on Main Street? Where does that stand? I know that, that money was all approved and everything, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the dead end by a town hall?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I actually just talked about that in the meeting yesterday because I asked those guys, like, should we connect this or should we not connect this? So the reason that we wanted to connect that, Russ, was because it was a chloramine issue, right?
Yeah.
The residual in the water. So the plan is that when we put this blue tank back online, we're gonna chlorinate at the tank. And,
Yep.
and so the water leaving the tank will be in theory, age day 1. Instead of age day, 7 or 12 or 13, days
so
in the.
that will resolve that situation, not require us to do that.
Exactly. So,
Okay, so which brings me to my next question. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to put on the next agenda a discussion of, someone going around and checking out, blowing out, all of our gate valves. And what happens over time is those fill up with silt and dirt and you can't access the gate to turn it on or off. So if we have a water break, a main break, instead of being able to isolate 1,000 feet, we're forced to isolate 4,000 feet. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, 100%. So I feel like this was
So-
talked about a long time ago. Is there a company, Russell, that that we've dealt with that does this, or is it who does that?
No, I don't. We'd really we'll have to have Cheryl start making some calls on that. And one of the things we should be doing is using the money that's provided for the system repairs and maintenance from Southbridge in our budget to do that. Because we're allowed, I don't know if it's a $25,000 a year figure for maintenance and repairs from Southbridge, but let's look into that and utilize that money in this fashion. Otherwise, it's just, it's money that's not spent. We do get a portion of that back from Southbridge if we don't use it, but we do lose it to a certain extent.
Okay,
All right.
Russ?
fantastic.
I'll
Cheryl.
talk more with Cheryl about that.
Okay,
Okay.
All right. But let's put a placeholder on the next agenda for this. And in the meantime, we can sort of scout out some companies and, Slims and Berthiums might want to do something. There's Jake Morse, he might want to do something,
okay.
all right.
Okay.
Next meeting.
April 2nd.
Can we do April 9th instead?
What about the first? April 4th. Just kidding.
The 9th is fine with me.
Yep.
All right,
I
let's do
don't,
April.
the 9th.
All right, let's do April 9th.
Okay.
Clea will appreciate the extended time.
Definitely. The motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Roll call vote.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
Mr. Jennings,
aye.
Mr. Cantwell,
Aye.
Mr. McLam.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have
Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.